Have you ever wondered what it looks like when an economy hits hyperspeed? Imagine adding $1 trillion to your economy. Not over a decade, but every year and a half. Well, that's the incredible future a major new report is forecasting for India. It lays out this really ambitious roadmap for the country to become a $30 trillion economy. So let's dive in and break down how on earth they might get there.
And there's the number, $30 trillion. Now, just to help you wrap your head around how massive that is, it's bigger than the entire US economy is today. It's a staggering figure, which of course brings up the big question. What kind of fundamental shifts could possibly power that kind of explosive growth? The really mind-blowing part of the story isn't just the final number, it's the speed. This timeline shows you the incredible power of economic momentum. So it took India 60 years, 6 whole decades, to hit its first $1 trillion in GDP. But then, look at how that timeline just starts shrinking. 7 years for the next trillion, then just 4. And pretty soon, the projection is that India could be adding a fresh trillion to its economy every 18 months. That is the insane acceleration we're talking about. Okay, so for our first section, let's really dig into this incredible shift in pace. How does an entire economy go from what was a pretty slow, steady climb to something that really feels like hyperspeed? This chart right here, it tells the whole story of modern India. You can literally see it. On the left, you've got the relatively flat growth back in the 80s, then the bumps and starts after the big economic reforms of the 90s, and then this amazing takeoff period in the 2000s, with growth averaging around 16%. But the key thing to see here is the forecast on the right. It shows a huge shift from that choppy past to a new era of sustained, truly transformative high growth. So what's actually the engine behind all this growth? Well, the report breaks it all down into 3 key drivers, or pillars. And the first one, which is arguably the most important, is all about people, specifically the rise of a massive, and I mean massive, new consumer market. Okay, now this chart, this is about so much more than just money. This is about a complete reshaping of an entire society. Just look at the blue and green bars. The aspirers class, the lower income group, it shrinks dramatically. Meanwhile, the middle and rich classes are projected to just explode, making up over 80% of the whole population by 2040. We're talking about poverty potentially falling below 1%. That's not just a small shift, folks. That's a seismic change in who has the power to spend.
And here is the number behind that incredible societal shift: 597 million people. That's how many are expected to join the middle class between 2015 and 2040. Think about that for a second. That's like adding the spending power of almost 2 brand new United States worth of consumers, all with new dreams and money to spend.
So, here's the real kicker. What is their economic impact? Well, this newly empowered, expanding middle class is projected to drive more than 75%, 3/4 of all consumer spending in India. They are, without a doubt, going to be the engine of the domestic economy.
Okay, so you have hundreds of millions of new consumers, all ready to spend, but they can't exactly buy goods and services that can't get to them, right? And that brings us perfectly to the second pillar, building the physical framework for growth through a massive overhaul of the country's infrastructure. And this quote here, it really gets to the heart of the whole strategy. This PM Gati Shakti initiative, it's not just about building a few roads here and a few ports there in isolation. Nope, it's about creating one giant, integrated, seamless network. The main goal? To slash logistics costs. And when you do that, goods can be made and sold more cheaply, which makes the entire economy way more competitive. I mean, just look at this map. It really gives you a sense of the sheer scale and ambition here. These aren't just lines on a piece of paper. They represent dedicated freight and industrial corridors. They're designed to move goods from factories to new megaports at incredible speeds. It's literally like building a brand new circulatory system for an era of supercharged industrialization and investment. So let's think about what this means in the real world. You've got the Bharatmala program, which is completely revolutionizing road connections. Then there's Sagarmala, which is creating these massive world-class ports. And you have UDAN, which is making air travel accessible to even smaller cities. You put it all together, and you get this multi-layered network that connects every single corner of the country like never before. All right, so we've got the people, and we've got the pipelines to move things around. Now for our third and final pillar, what are they actually going to be making and selling? Which industries are being set up to become the powerhouses of this new, much more diversified economy?
First up on the list, the automotive sector. This one's kind of a no-brainer, right? Fueled by that booming middle class, India is positioning itself to be not just a huge market, but a global hub for the future of cars.
And the numbers on this chart are pretty wild. We're talking about passenger vehicle sales potentially hitting 6 million a year by 2030. And you can't forget the two-wheelers, which are a huge indicator of everyday mobility in India. They could cross 25 million in sales. This isn't just about manufacturing. It's a direct reflection of a population that's more urban, has more money, and is on the move. Now, of course, all those cars, all those factories, and all those newly electrified homes, they all need one thing: power. And that brings us to energy, where India's demand is on track to become a major, major force on the global stage. This projection is pretty eye-opening. It shows India becoming the single biggest source of global oil demand growth through 2030. So while you hear a lot of the world talking about getting away from fossil fuels, India's demand for crude is expected to just keep on rising for another 2 decades, probably peaking sometime around 2045. But hey, it's not all just about traditional industries like cars and oil. Check this out: the next high-tech frontier: space. The ambition here is to grow India's slice of the global space market from just 2% today to around 10% by 2030. That is a powerful signal of where the country sees its future in cutting-edge technology. So there you have it. We've seen the incredible acceleration, and we've looked at the 3 core pillars that are supposed to drive this whole forecast. But let's be real. Reaching a goal this monumental, well, it's one heck of an ambitious journey.
So let's just do a quick recap of the blueprint here. The path to $30 trillion is essentially built on these 3 interconnected pillars, all working together: a rising consumer class creating the demand, a modern infrastructure framework that enables all that commerce, and the powerhouse industries of the future to supply it all. And I think this quote from the report really puts it all into perspective. It basically says, look, we know the target is ambitious, but it's not just a fantasy number pulled out of thin air. It's grounded in real strong fundamentals. Things like demographics, urbanization, and a serious focus on reform that provide a credible foundation for this kind of growth. And all of that leaves us with one final big thought. We've just gone through the blueprint for what could be an absolutely incredible economic rise. But as we all know, with any long-term forecast, the road ahead is never, ever certain. So the question we're left with is this: what are the unforeseen challenges, or maybe even opportunities, that could pop up and completely alter this ambitious journey?